Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. Okay. So more information has come out about the Browns signing Isaiah Bond. Now, for those of you who don't know, Isaiah Bond, a former day 2 draft prospect, had an allegation of sexual assault dropped before his draft. That pretty much made him untouchable. While he had an active situation for most teams, he went undrafted. And then the grand jury recently has declined to press charges on Isaiah Bond, freeing up his legal status. It's unclear if the league is going to do something with Isaiah Bond here. Unlike the Quincy situation where I'm like, hey, he didn't get charged legally, but I do think he's going to get some level of suspension from the NFL. I think the Isaiah Bond situation might be a little different given the details of that case. So I don't think Isaiah Bond's going to face a suspension early on. That's just my hunch on it early on. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, but remember, the NFL can suspend you for whatever they deem worthy to suspend you of. I know people keep talking about like, well, the NFL can't do this. The NFL can do whatever they want, okay? Like when it comes to punishment. That is one of the issues that the NFLPA has had with the NFL for a few collective bargaining agreements, that the NFL basically has carte blanche to suspend you for whatever they want to suspend you for. And unless you have the power, the money to fight the NFL in actual court, like Tom Brady or somebody, you're probably just going to have to deal with whatever the NFL does. So I know there's going to be a lot of people telling you what the NFL will do, what they won't do. I have my guess, you have your guess, but understand at the end of the day, the NFL's player conduct policy is basically something that allows them to do whatever they want, right? It's not really like a matter of law that has to be held up. There's no real checks and balances. That's something to keep in mind. So I don't think he's going to get suspended, in my opinion, but we'll see. But after we found out that the Browns were going to sign him, the report was, hey, the Browns haven't actually signed him to a contract. He's going to come to Cleveland this weekend, then sign a contract. And I did think it'd be interesting to know, like, hey, what kind of contract does this guy get, right? You know, it will tell you a lot about what other teams think about Isaiah Bond. I think it'll tell you a lot about what other teams think about this case on Isaiah Bond as well. What he gets, and what he got was basically a contract that's consistent with a second or third round pick, a late second or early third pick. His deal, as reported by, I think it's Mary Kay that reported this, but correct me if I'm wrong, is a fully guaranteed 3-year deal worth $3.018 million. Consistent with the third pick he was projected to be in the UDFA. I've heard it's consistent late second, early third. It's kind of where they valued him money-wise. Of course, the Browns did not actually have to spend a late second, early third on him. So in their mind, this is a free third-round pick. And that's kind of how they're going to use him, right? So you're hearing fully guaranteed. Remember, the deal is worth $3 million. So it's not like, it's not crazy, right? But this does tell you that he was valued by the Browns as higher than the UDFA. This does tell you that he was valued by the NFL as higher than the UDFA, because if the Browns could get him on a cheap contract, they probably would have done it. So 3-year deal, $3.018 million. I'm not 100% sure, but let me look at a UDFA contract right now. Ronnie Hickman. But I think those are 4-year deals. So if that's true, he probably got a hookup here because he can hit the market sooner if he's good, and then re-up his money, which is probably what they were hoping to kind of accomplish here. So let's see. Okay, yeah, so it's a 3-year deal in a UDFA contract. I know a second or third round contract. The only difference is that it's a it's a 4-year deal. Another thing to consider too is when you're a second round pick, there's more roster protections for the team to keep that guy on the roster and restrict him from getting the free agency versus this contract, which will probably not have a ton of those things built into it because I don't think you can just build draft protections into the regular contract, right? I think that's only something you could do in a draft contract. So Isaiah Bond signed with the Cleveland Browns. Second to third round pick evaluation on him is what the money says that the Cleveland Browns feel about him, right? Whether you think he's a second or third round pick, we could debate that all day long. I can debate it. Whether I personally think he's a second or third round pick, it's irrelevant. They gave him second, third round pick money. So, it's kind of like a freebie for them, I guess. Obviously, you're still going to have to inherit some of the burden of bringing on somebody who's been accused of what he has, given that this team has a lot of that going on, where they're getting a lot of flack for the kind of players that they're bringing in amongst some of the fan base. So that is something that you have to deal with, but they value this guy as a second and third round pick. They brought him in, and they're probably going to treat him like that for the beginning of his contract. So what does that mean for the West of the wide receiver room, right? Because the Browns are going to keep 6 wide receivers. We know that Jerry Jeudy is making the roster. There's no doubt about that, right? We know that, Cedric Tillman, he's making the roster. There's no doubt about that. Jamari Thrash, he's making the roster. There's no doubt about that. And now Isaiah Bond, he's making the roster. There's no doubt about that either. So who are the last 2 guys? Right now, it seems like DeAndre Carter is basically a lock to be the kick returner. They've been very happy with him. When Bubba Ventrone talked to the media, he basically told folks that DeAndre Carter's the guy there at kick return and punt return. So I imagine he's going to make the team. That's 5 wide receivers. Now, keep in mind, this is a year where the Browns wouldn't be crazy for them to keep 4 quarterbacks. If they keep 4 quarterbacks, they're going to have to get creative with where they don't keep an extra player, right? I think wide receiver is one of those positions where the Browns could think to themselves, we can be thinner here than we would normally be, simply because we're going to be more field at tight end and have other guys coming out the backfield and running back that you can make up for only having 5 wide receivers on the roster. So it is possible that's it, right? DeAndre Carter, Isaiah Bond, Jamari Thrash, Jerry Jeudy, and who am I missing? Oh, yeah, Jamari Thrash, Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman. Okay, so those are the 5 that make the roster, and the Browns just keep 5 wide receivers. I don't think that's impossible, especially if they do keep 4 quarterbacks on the roster. If that's the case, they're going to have to sacrifice somebody somewhere. I don't know if they're going to want to sacrifice on the offensive line, given how much you're going to run the ball. I don't think they're going to want to sacrifice an extra body at running back, given how much they want to run the ball. Defensively, I don't think you want to really mess with anything going on there, since that's supposed to be the strength of your team. If you're looking at where there is fat to be trimmed to save for a quarterback, wide receiver seems like the spot you would save to keep an extra quarterback. So the question in my mind starts to become, okay, is there a wide receiver left on this depth chart that, 1, you don't think you can get back on the practice squad, and 2, is more valuable than an extra body at quarterback or an extra body somewhere else along the team? Not really sure, right? Deontay Johnson hasn't been impressive. Gage Larvin has been pretty good, but I'm pretty confident you can get him on the practice squad. It wouldn't be surprising if you can get him on the practice squad. I know we go through this every year where people swear that this guy who's on the 3rd string of the Browns wide receiver room needs to make the team, and he's going to play during the season, and nobody would let him slide through waivers. But every year, that guy slides through waivers and ends up on the practice squad. Every single year, right? We literally have a meme award named after certain players who have done this. So Gage probably can make the practice squad. I don't think you got to sacrifice anything to keep him with your team. Deontay has not been very impressive throughout camp. Camp he's been fine. It's the preseason games where he's not been great. DeAndre Carter's going to make the team as a kick returner. So what? You got Caden Davis, probably another practice squad guy. And then maybe David Bell. You keep David Bell. So I think this is really between, do you want to roster David Bell, who hasn't been in camp all camp? Or do you want to roster Deontay Johnson, who I'm not confident has given you that? Like, which flyer do you want to take? Do you want to take the flyer on keeping 4 quarterbacks, or do you want to take the flyer on keeping Deontay Johnson at the end of the day? Because Isaiah Bond's definitely making this team. I think that's the conversation that we could ultimately be having before week 1 with the Browns getting down to a final 53, because that's what it looks like it's coming down to, right? You just look at this team. They want to keep 4 quarterbacks, which I'm not thinking is guaranteed to happen, but I think could happen, right? I think more than likely they keep 3, they cut Kenny Pickett. But if they want to keep Kenny Pickett, because they have not seen much out of Kenny Pickett, then you have to look at Deontay Johnson as like, okay, well, he must be the odd man out. Like, I think one of those 2 former Steelers will likely be the odd man out. I know everybody wants Gage to make the team. He's put in a hell of a camp in preseason. He'll probably make the practice squad, though. So, he's not going to be out the job. He's definitely earned the right to get a check to play football all season, right? So that's kind of my thought process of where they are after this Isaiah Bond signing. Let me know where you guys are at in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.